The morning sun bathed Ashwood, Oregon, in a soft golden haze. The sidewalks outside brewed awakening, buzzing with locals sipping coffee and chatting over pastries. Nathan Brooks, 42, sat at an outdoor table, his dark sunglasses shielding sightless eyes, his lean frame relaxed but alert. A former police data analyst blinded in a car accident 5 years ago, Nathan had carved out a quiet life in this small town, anchored by Blaze, his 4-year-old German Shepherd. Blaze, a retired K9 with a sleek black and tan coat and a scar across his flank, stood vigilant beside Nathan, his posture radiating the discipline of his past life. More than a guide dog, Blaze was Nathan's confidant, his protector, his family. Nathan sipped his latte, the chatter around him a comforting hum, when the roar of motorcycles shattered the peace. 3 bikes screeched to a stop near the cafe, their engines snarling. The crowd glanced up, some annoyed, others curious, as 3 men dismounted, their leather jackets flashing bold patches. Travis Kane, the leader, a broad-shouldered man in his 30s with a cocky grin and a shaved head, scanned the patio like he owned it. His buddies, Derek and Cole, followed, their laughter loud and abrasive. Blaze's ears perked, his body tensing, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Nathan's hand brushed the dog's head, his voice calm but probing. "Easy, Blaze. What's got you worked up?" Travis strutted between the tables, his boots thudding, his eyes locking onto Blaze. "That's one hell of a dog," he said, his tone teasing but edged with challenge. He leaned closer, ignoring Nathan. "What's his deal? Looks like he's ready to eat someone." Nathan's grip tightened on Blaze's leash, his voice steady. "He's my guide dog. Blaze doesn't take kindly to strangers getting too close." Travis chuckled, glancing at his friends who smirked. "Guide dog, huh? Fancy. Bet he's all bark, no bite." He took a step forward, testing, and Blaze's growl deepened, his eyes never leaving Travis. The crowd hushed, sensing the shift, phones subtly raised to record. "Blaze, stay," Nathan said, his tone firm, but his brow furrowed with unease. "Everything okay over there?" "Oh, we're just having fun," Travis said, his grin widening. He crouched, snapping his fingers at Blaze. "Come on, big guy, show me what you got." Blaze didn't move, his stance rigid, a coiled spring. Nathan's voice sharpened, sensing the provocation. "Back off, man." "He's not a pet, he's working." Travis laughed, standing, but his pride stung. "Working? Looks like a show dog to me." In a swift, reckless move, he kicked lightly at Blaze's side, a mocking gesture meant to taunt. The crowd gasped, a woman shouting, "Hey, stop it!" But Blaze reacted with lightning speed, dodging the kick with trained agility, his growl erupting into a deep, menacing bark that froze Travis in place. Nathan stood, his face pale, his voice trembling with anger. "What the hell's your problem?" "You don't touch my dog." Travis raised his hands, feigning innocence, but his eyes glinted with defiance. "Relax, blind man. Just a joke." "Your mutt's fine." Blaze stepped forward, positioning himself between Nathan and Travis, his teeth bared, a clear warning. The cafe patio fell silent, the tension electric. Nathan's hand shook on the leash, his voice low, fierce. "Blaze isn't a mutt. He's a K9 hero. You're lucky he's holding back." Travis's smirk faltered, the crowd's murmurs turning against him. Derek tugged his arm, muttering, "Come on, Trav, let's go." But as Travis backed away, something slipped from his jacket pocket, a small metallic police badge glinting on the pavement. Blaze's growl intensified, his nose twitching as he sniffed the air, his body rigid with recognition. Nathan, unaware of the badge, sensed Blaze's shift. "Blaze, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice tight. A nearby woman, Emma Larson, Nathan's sister and a local teacher, rushed over, spotting the badge. "Nathan, there's a badge on the ground." "Looks official. Police issue." Travis's face hardened and he lunged to snatch it, but Blaze barked, lunging just enough to make him stumble back. The crowd gasped, phones capturing every second. "That's mine," Travis snapped, his voice sharp, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. "Stay out of this." Nathan's heart raced, his blindness no barrier to the danger he felt. "Blaze doesn't react like this for nothing," he said, his voice steady despite the chill in his spine. "What's that badge, and why's my dog losing it over you?" Travis forced a laugh, backing toward his bike, his friends already mounting theirs. "You're paranoid, man. Keep your dog in check." But as he turned, Blaze's bark rang out, a warning that echoed down the street. The crowd parted, and Travis roared off, his bike's engine drowning out the murmurs. Emma knelt, picking up the badge, her voice low. "Nathan, this isn't just a badge. It's got a code. Looks like something from the police K9 unit." Nathan's breath caught, his hand resting on Blaze's trembling frame. "Blaze, what do you know that I don't?" he whispered, the badge's weight in Emma's hand a clue to a danger neither could yet see. As the cafe buzzed with whispers, Nathan knew one thing. Travis wasn't just a bully. He was a threat, and Blaze's instincts had just blown the lid off something far bigger than a morning scuffle. The streets of Ashwood, Oregon glowed under the soft light of dawn, a quiet town where the hum of daily life felt like a heartbeat. 3 years ago, before the cafe incident, Nathan Brooks was a different man, a sharp-eyed police data analyst, his mind a steel trap for patterns and clues. A car accident stole his sight, leaving him to rebuild a life in darkness. But Blaze, his 4-year-old German shepherd, became his eyes, his anchor. A retired K9 with a black and tan coat and a scar from a knife fight in his police days, Blaze was more than a guide dog. He was Nathan's partner, his protector, their bond forged in trust and unspoken understanding. Back then, Nathan's world was the Ashwood Police Department, where he crunched numbers to track drug rings and smugglers. Blaze, a star of the K9 unit, had a nose for trouble, sniffing out stashes and suspects with uncanny precision. Together, they'd helped bust a major cartel operation, Blaze's courage saving lives, including Nathan's during a raid gone wrong. But the accident changed everything. Nathan's career ended, and Blaze was retired, assigned to him as a guide dog. Nathan never asked about Blaze's past missions, assuming those days were behind them. Until yesterday. The cafe confrontation replayed in Nathan's mind as he sat in his modest apartment, the morning's tension still clinging to him. Travis Kane's mocking kick, Blaze's fierce reaction, the police badge that sparked the dog's instincts. It all felt like a puzzle with missing pieces. Nathan ran his fingers over the badge, its cold metal edges unfamiliar, the engraved code a mystery. Blaze lay at his feet, his breathing steady but his ears perked, as if waiting for the next threat. The apartment door creaked open, and Emma Larson, Nathan's younger sister, stepped inside, her teacher's satchel slung over her shoulder. Her blonde hair was pulled back, her green eyes sharp with worry. "Nathan, you okay?" she asked, setting a bag of groceries on the counter. "That jerk at the cafe, I can't believe he went after Blaze." Nathan's jaw tightened, his voice low. "He didn't just go after Blaze, Emma. He knew what he was doing." "And this badge?" He held it up, its weight heavy in his hand. Blaze lost it when he saw it. That's not random. Emma frowned, taking the badge, her fingers tracing the code. It's police issue, all right. K9 unit, maybe. But why's a guy like Travis carrying it? Nathan shook his head, his sightless eyes fixed ahead. I don't know, but Blaze does. He's not just a guide dog, Em. He's a K9, trained to spot danger. And he spotted it in Travis. Blaze lifted his head, a soft whine escaping as he nudged Nathan's hand. Nathan scratched behind the dog's ears, his voice softening. You tried to tell me, didn't you, boy? I should have listened. Emma sat beside him, her voice gentle but firm. Nathan, you need to take this to the police. If Travis is trouble, Blaze's reaction is proof something's off. Nathan's laugh was bitter. The police? I haven't been one of them in years. And this badge? Why's a thug like Travis carrying it? Something's not right. The memory of Blaze's growl, the crowd's murmurs, flooded back. Nathan had felt the shift in the air, the weight of Travis's challenge, even without seeing it. Blaze had stood between him and danger, a wall of loyalty. But the badge was the real shock, a link to Blaze's past, to a life Nathan thought was buried. A knock at the door startled them. Blaze sprang up, his growl low, his body tense as he faced the entrance. Nathan gripped the leash, his pulse quickening. "Who's there?" he called, his voice sharp. "It's Jake," came a familiar voice. Jake Riley, the barista from Brood Awakening, a lanky 20-something with a knack for remembering orders. Nathan relaxed slightly, but Blaze's growl didn't fade. "Stay, Blaze," Nathan said, opening the door. Jake stepped inside, his hoodie damp from the morning mist, his brown eyes nervous. "Nathan, I heard about the cafe. You all right? That guy Travis, he's bad news." Nathan's brow furrowed, sensing Jake's unease. "You know him?" Jake hesitated, glancing at Blaze, who watched him intently. "Not really, but he hangs around the wrong crowd. Bikers, dealers, you name it. I saw him arguing with some guy in a suit last week, looked like a cop." Emma's eyes widened. "A cop? And Travis has a K9 badge." "Nathan, this isn't just a bar fight waiting to happen." Nathan's grip on the badge tightened, his voice steady but urgent. "Jake, what else do you know? If Travis is tied to cops, Blaze's reaction means he's not just some punk." Jake shifted, his voice dropping. "I don't know much, but I found this in the cafe trash after Travis left." He pulled a crumpled note from his pocket, handing it to Emma. She read aloud, her voice trembling. "Get the badge back. He can't know." Nathan's blood ran cold, the twist hitting like a shock. "Know what?" he demanded, his hand resting on Blaze, who growled softly as if confirming the threat. "Blaze, what's this guy hiding?" Jake's face paled. "Nathan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Look, I gotta go." "Just watch your back." He bolted for the door, leaving Nathan and Emma in stunned silence. Emma grabbed Nathan's arm, her voice fierce. "Nathan, we need to figure this out. Blaze isn't just reacting to Travis. He's reacting to that badge, to whatever it means. You're in danger." Nathan nodded, his mind racing. The badge, the note, Blaze's instincts, it all pointed to a secret tied to the dog's K9 past, something Travis was desperate to keep buried. He knelt beside Blaze, his voice thick with trust. "You've got my back, don't you, boy? Whatever this is, we'll face it together." Blaze nuzzled his hand, a quiet vow, but his ears stayed perked. his gaze fixed on the door. Outside, the faint rumble of a motorcycle echoed, too distant to be sure, but enough to make Nathan's heart pound. Travis wasn't done, and the badge in Nathan's hand was a key to a danger he couldn't yet see. The Ashwood evening draped Nathan Brooks' apartment in a quiet hush, the kind that felt too still, too heavy. Nathan, 42, sat on his worn couch, his sightless eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, his lean frame tense as he gripped the police badge from Travis Kane's pocket. The badge's engraved code, K9 Unit, Ashwood PD, felt like a live wire in his hand, its connection to Blaze, his 4-year-old German Shepherd, undeniable. Blaze lay at his feet, his black and tan coat scarred from his K9 days, his ears perked, a low growl rumbling as he stared at the door. The cafe showdown, Travis's mocking kick, the cryptic note Jake Riley found. Get the badge back. He can't know. Had cracked open a mystery Nathan couldn't ignore. Blaze's instincts, honed by years of sniffing out danger, screamed that Travis was no ordinary thug. Nathan's fingers traced Blaze's collar, his voice low, steady. You're trying to tell me something, aren't you, boy? That badge, it's got you on edge. Blaze whined softly, nudging Nathan's hand, his eyes never leaving the door. The dog's tension was a language Nathan had learned to read, a warning that danger was closer than he could sense. The apartment door swung open, and Emma Larson, Nathan's sister, stepped inside, her blonde hair disheveled from a long day teaching. Her green eyes widened at Nathan's expression, the badge glinting in his hand. "Nathan, you look like you haven't slept," she said, setting her bag down. "What's going on with that badge? Did you call the police?" Nathan's jaw tightened, his voice clipped. "Not yet, Em. Blaze is losing it over this thing, and Jake's note, he can't know. Travis isn't just some biker. He's hiding something, and it's tied to Blaze." Emma frowned, sitting beside him, her voice gentle but urgent. "Nathan, you're not a cop anymore. If this is dangerous, let the police handle it. Blaze is your guide dog, not a weapon." Nathan's laugh was bitter, his hand brushing Blaze's fur. "He's more than a guide, Em. He's a K9 hero. He saved lives, mine included." "Whatever Travis is into, Blaze knows it's bad." Blaze's growl deepened, his body tensing as a faint hum echoed outside, a motorcycle idling too close. Nathan froze, his pulse quickening. "You hear that?" he asked, standing, his grip on the leash firm. Emma rushed to the window, peering through the blinds, her voice tight. "It's not Travis, but there's a bike out there. Guy's just sitting, watching." Nathan's heart pounded, his blindness amplifying every sound. The engine's low rumble, Blaze's steady growl. "Blaze, stay," he said, moving to the door, but the dog pressed against his leg, refusing to budge. Nathan's voice dropped, urgent. "Em, lock the windows." Now. Before Emma could move, a sharp buzz broke the silence. Nathan's phone, vibrating on the coffee table. Emma grabbed it, her voice shaking as she read the screen. "It's a text, no number. Return the badge or the dog's gone." "Nathan, what the hell is this?" Nathan's blood ran cold, the threat slicing through him. "They're not just after the badge," he said, his voice low, fierce. "They're after Blaze." He knelt beside the dog, his hand steady on Blaze's neck. "You're not going anywhere, boy. Not while I'm here." Blaze's ears flicked, his growl turning sharp as a scraping sound came from the back door, a faint, deliberate scratch, like metal on wood. Nathan stood, his voice a whisper. "Em, get behind me." Emma obeyed, her breathing ragged as Nathan guided Blaze toward the sound. The dog's hackles raised, his body coiled. The scratching stopped, replaced by a soft thud, as if something had been dropped. Nathan eased the back door open, Blaze leading, his nose sniffing the air. On the porch lay a small black device, a tracker, its red light blinking, wired to a crumpled note. "You were warned." Blaze's growl erupted into a bark, his teeth bared, as if the device itself were a threat. Emma gasped, clutching Nathan's arm. "Nathan, they were here. They're watching us." Nathan's mind raced, the badge and tracker forming a chilling picture. "This isn't about a bar fight," he said, his voice grim. "Travis knows Blaze from somewhere. His canine days, maybe. That badge is a key, and they'll kill to keep it quiet." Blaze's bark grew louder, his nose pointing to the yard where footsteps crunched in the gravel, fast, retreating. Nathan tightened his grip on the leash, his voice urgent. "Blaze, find!" The dog surged forward, pulling Nathan into the yard, his training kicking in. Emma followed, her phone's flashlight cutting through the dusk, revealing fresh boot prints leading to the alley. They stopped at the fence, Blaze sniffing a discarded cigarette butt, his growl confirming a scent he knew. Nathan's heart sank. Travis, or someone tied to him, had been here, planting the tracker, leaving the note. "They're not just threatening us," Nathan said, his voice shaking with rage. "They're hunting us." Emma's voice cracked, her hand on Nathan's shoulder. "Nathan, we need help." "Lila Morgan. She's your old contact at the PD. She'd know about K9 badges, right?" Nathan nodded, his mind flashing to Lila, a tough-as-nails detective who'd worked with Blaze before his retirement. "Lila's our shot," he said, his voice steadying. "But Em, this badge, it's tied to something big. Blaze is acting like he's back on a case." Blaze whined, pressing against Nathan, his eyes locked on the alley. Nathan knelt, his voice thick with trust. "You're still a hero, aren't you, boy? Whatever they're hiding, we'll find it." But the twist came as Emma's phone buzzed again. Another text, this time with a photo. Nathan and Blaze at the cafe, taken from a distance, with a single word. "Soon." Nathan couldn't see it, but Emma's gasp told him enough. "Nathan," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They've been watching us since the cafe. This isn't just Travis. It's organized." Nathan's blood ran cold, the tracker's blinking light a taunt in his hand. Blaze's growl was a vow, a reminder of the dog's unbreakable loyalty. "Let them come," Nathan said, his voice fierce, his blindness no match for his resolve. "Blaze and I have faced worse. They don't know who they're messing with." Outside, the motorcycle's hum faded, but the night felt alive with unseen eyes. Nathan stood, Blaze at his side, the badge and tracker heavy with secrets. The fight was just beginning, and Ashwood's quiet streets were about to become a battlefield. The Ashwood night was a heavy blanket of silence, the kind that smothered sound and amplified fear. Nathan Brooks sat in his darkened apartment, his sightless eyes hidden behind sunglasses, his lean frame rigid as he clutched the police K9 badge that had fallen from Travis Kane's pocket. The badge's code, tied to Blaze's past, was a live grenade, its secrets unraveling with every passing hour. Blaze, his 4-year-old German shepherd, stood guard by the door, his black and tan coat scarred from his K9 days, his ears perked, a low growl rumbling as he sensed what Nathan couldn't see. The cafe confrontation, the threatening texts, the tracker on his porch. You were warned, had turned Nathan's quiet life into a battlefield, and Blaze's instincts were the only map through the chaos. Nathan's fingers traced the badge, his voice low, strained. You know what this means, don't you, Blaze? Travis isn't just a thug. He's part of something bigger. Blaze whined, pressing against Nathan's leg, his eyes locked on the door, as if waiting for the storm to break. Emma Larson, Nathan's sister, paced the living room, her blonde hair loose, her green eyes sharp with worry. Nathan, we can't stay here, she said, her voice tight. That tracker, those texts, they're not bluffing. We need to get to Lila Morgan now. Nathan nodded, his jaw clenched. Lila, a detective who'd worked with Blaze in his K-9 prime, was their best shot at decoding the badge. But the weight of the unknown pressed on him. Travis's connection to Blaze's past, the coded threats, the photo of them at the cafe. You're right, Em, he said, standing, his hand firm on Blaze's leash. But we move fast. They're watching. Blaze's growl deepened, his body tensing as a faint rumble echoed outside. A motorcycle, too close, too deliberate. Nathan's pulse spiked, his blindness amplifying the sound. That's no coincidence, he muttered, guiding Blaze to the window. Emma peered through the blinds, her breath catching. It's Travis, she whispered. He's out there with two others, just waiting. Before Nathan could respond, the apartment's lights flickered, then died, plunging them into darkness. A crash shattered the silence, the back door splintering under a heavy blow. Blaze barked, fierce and commanding, positioning himself between Nathan and the intrusion. Emma, get down! Nathan shouted, pulling her behind the couch, his hand tight on Blaze's leash. Footsteps thudded inside, heavy and purposeful. A flashlight beam cut through the dark, and Travis's voice, cold and mocking, filled the room. You should have given me the badge, blind man. Now your dog's gonna pay. Nathan's heart pounded, his voice steady despite the fear. You don't know who you're messing with, Travis. Blaze isn't just a dog. He's a K-9 hero, and you're in over your head. Travis laughed, his boots scuffing closer. Hero? He's a has-been. Hand over the badge, or we take him out. Blaze's growl erupted into a snarl, and Nathan released the leash, his voice a command. Blaze, go! The German Shepherd lunged, his training kicking in, tackling Travis with a force that sent the flashlight spinning. Travis screamed, his body hitting the floor as Blaze pinned him, jaws inches from his throat. Two other men shouted, their flashlights swinging wildly, but Blaze's barks drowned them out, his presence a wall of fury. Nathan scrambled to his feet, guiding Emma toward the front door, his voice urgent. Em, run! Get to the car! But a second crash came from the kitchen, another intruder smashing through a window. Emma gasped, grabbing a lamp as a weapon, her voice trembling but fierce. Nathan, I'm not leaving you! The chaos escalated as Blaze's barks turned to a yelp, a thud, a body hitting the wall. Nathan's heart stopped, his voice raw. Blaze! He lunged toward the sound, his hands outstretched, finding Travis pinned but struggling, Blaze's weight unrelenting. One of Travis's men swung a crowbar, aiming for Blaze, but Nathan tackled him, the impact jarring his shoulder. You don't touch my dog! Nathan roared, his blindness no barrier to his rage. Emma swung the lamp, cracking it against the second man's head, sending him sprawling. Nathan, we've got to go, she shouted, pulling him toward the door. Blaze released Travis, sprinting to Nathan's side, his growl a warning as the intruders scrambled to their feet. They burst into the night, the motorcycle's rumble now a roar as Travis and his men regrouped. Nathan, Emma, and Blaze piled into Emma's car, Nathan clutching the badge, his voice shaking. "Drive, Em! Get us to Lila's!" Emma floored it, tires screeching as they sped through Ashwood's quiet streets, the motorcycle's headlights flaring in the rear view. Blaze barked, his body braced in the back seat, his eyes locked on the pursuit. Nathan's mind raced, the badge's code burning in his memory. "Travis wants this for a reason," he said, his voice grim. "It's tied to Blaze's K9 days, something they're desperate to hide." Emma's hands shook on the wheel, her voice breaking. "Nathan, what if they're not just after the badge? What if they want Blaze because of what he knows?" The twist hit Nathan like a shockwave. A memory from his analyst days, a case Blaze had worked, a drug ring bust that sent a kingpin to prison. The badge wasn't just a trinket. It was a key to encrypted files, evidence Blaze had guarded, files someone powerful wanted buried. "You're right," Nathan said, his voice low, fierce. "Blaze isn't just a target. He's a witness." Headlights swerved closer, a motorcycle pulling alongside, Travis's face visible, twisted with rage. He raised a gun, aiming at the car, but Blaze's bark was a thunderclap, his body lunging against the window, startling Travis enough to swerve. Emma gunned the engine, weaving through traffic, the police station in sight. "Lila's our only shot," Nathan said, his hand on Blaze's trembling fur. "She'll know what this badge unlocks." But as they screeched into the station's lot, a new sound chilled Nathan. A police radio crackling from Travis's bike, its static carrying a voice. "Take them out. No witnesses." Nathan's blood ran cold, the realization crashing over him. Travis wasn't just a biker. He was working for someone inside the system, someone tied to Blaze's past, someone who'd kill to keep their secrets. "Blaze," Nathan whispered, his voice thick with trust. "We're in this together, boy. Let's show them what a hero can do." Blaze pressed against him, his growl a vow, as the station's lights loomed ahead, a beacon in the night. But the roar of pursuit promised a fight far from over. The Ashwood police station loomed like a fortress under the Oregon night, its fluorescent lights cutting through the fog as Nathan Brooks, Emma Larson, and Blaze spilled out of Emma's car. Nathan, 42, his lean frame taut with adrenaline, gripped the K9 badge that had turned his quiet life into a war zone. His sightless eyes, hidden behind dark sunglasses, couldn't see the station's brick facade, but he felt Blaze's tension through the leash. The 4-year-old German Shepherd's black and tan coat was slick with sweat, his scarred flank heaving, his growl a steady warning. The cafe clash with Travis Kane, the tracker on Nathan's porch, the apartment attack, and the chilling radio chatter. Take them out. No witnesses had exposed a conspiracy tied to Blaze's K9 past, and Nathan was determined to unravel it. Emma, her blonde hair disheveled, clutched Nathan's arm, her voice shaking but fierce. "Nathan, we made it, but Travis is still out there. That badge, what's it worth to them?" Nathan's jaw clenched, his voice low, resolute. "It's a key, Em, to something Blaze helped bury. And they'll kill to keep it locked away." Blaze's ears twitched, his nose sniffing the air, his body braced as if sensing eyes in the dark. Nathan's heart pounded. The badge, with its cryptic code, was linked to a drug bust Blaze had worked years ago, a case Nathan had analyzed. The files they'd secured had sent a kingpin to prison, but someone was desperate to erase that history, and Blaze was the key. Inside, The station buzzed with late-night activity, officers glancing up as Nathan, Emma, and Blaze approached the desk. Lila Morgan, a wiry detective in her late 40s with cropped brown hair and sharp gray eyes, met them in the lobby, her badge glinting. She'd been Blaze's handler in his canine days, a no-nonsense cop who trusted the dog's instincts over any humans. "Nathan," she said, her voice gruff but warm, "you look like hell. What's got Blaze so wired?" Nathan held out the badge, his voice steady despite the weight of fear. "This fell from a biker named Travis Kane. He's been after us since yesterday. Threats, trackers, an attack on my place. Blaze went nuts over it, Lila. It's K9 issue, and I think it's tied to the cartel case you and Blaze worked." Lila's eyes narrowed, taking the badge, her fingers tracing the code. "This is from our old unit," she said, her tone darkening. "But it's not standard. It's got an encryption chip, like the ones we used for secure data. Nathan, this isn't just a badge. It's a key to locked case files." Emma's breath caught, her voice urgent. "Locked files? Lila, Travis, and his crew tried to kill us for this." "What's in those files?" Lila's face hardened, her voice low. "The cartel case put away Marcus Vega, a kingpin with connections to dirty cops. Blaze sniffed out the evidence, encrypted drives we could never fully crack. If this badge unlocks them, someone's scared of what's inside." Blaze growled, his hackles rising, his nose pointing to the station's entrance. Nathan tightened his grip on the leash, his pulse spiking. "Blaze, what's out there?" he asked, his voice sharp. Lila drew her service weapon, motioning for an officer to check the door, but before anyone could move, the station's lights flickered, and a deafening explosion rocked the building. Glass shattered, alarms blared, and smoke poured from the rear exit. "Get down!" Lila shouted, pulling Nathan and Emma behind a desk, Blaze barking furiously, his body shielding Nathan. The blast's heat washed over them, debris raining down as officers scrambled, shouting orders. Nathan's heart thundered, his voice raw. "Lila, that's Travis. He's coming for the badge." Lila's eyes blazed, her gun raised. "He's not getting it. Nathan, stay with Blaze. Emma, cover the flank." She led them through the chaos, smoke stinging their eyes, Blaze guiding Nathan with unerring precision. They reached a secure evidence room, its steel door ajar, but the sight inside stopped them cold. An officer lay slumped, blood pooling, a radio crackling with Travis's voice. "Find the badge. Kill the dog." Emma gasped, clutching Nathan's arm. "Nathan, they're inside the station." "How'd they get in?" Lila's voice was grim, her gun trained on the corridor. "Someone let them in. We've got a mole." She grabbed a laptop from the evidence room, plugging the badge into a port. The screen lit up, displaying a locked file. Operation Nightshade. "This is it," Lila said, her fingers flying. "The cartel case files, Vega's network, dirty cops, the works. Blaze guarded these." Blaze's bark cut through the smoke, his nose pointing to the door as footsteps thudded closer. Nathan's voice trembled with rage. "They're not taking him, Lila, not while I'm breathing." The door burst open, and Travis stormed in, flanked by two armed men, their faces masked. "Game over, blind man," Travis sneered, his gun aimed at Nathan. "Give me the badge or your mutts first." Blaze lunged, his canine training a blur of power, tackling one gunman, his jaws clamping onto the man's arm. The gunman screamed, his weapon clattering as Lila fired, dropping the second man. Nathan dove for cover, pulling Emma with him, his voice a command. "Blaze, hold." Travis swung his gun at Blaze, but Nathan tackled him. Blind but fearless, his hands finding Travis's throat. "You don't touch my dog," Nathan roared, his strength fueled by years of trusting Blaze. Travis gasped, struggling, but Blaze's growl was a thunderclap, his presence pinning the thug as Lila cuffed him. The laptop pinged, the file unlocking, revealing names, cops, dealers, and a bombshell. Captain Derek Holt, oversight. Nathan's blood ran cold, the twist hitting like a shock. Holt, a respected Ashwood captain, was the mole, the mastermind behind Vega's network, and Travis's boss. "Holt?" Nathan whispered, his voice breaking. "He worked with you, Lila. With Blaze." Lila's face paled, her voice grim. "He was at every bust. He knew what Blaze could do." She grabbed the laptop, her voice urgent. "We need to move. Holt's men are coming." Blaze barked, leading them to a side exit, his instincts navigating the smoke-filled halls as sirens wailed outside. FBI, alerted by Lila's call. But as they reached the lot, a new figure emerged from the fog. Jake Riley, the barista, holding a gun, his face torn with guilt. "Nathan." "I'm sorry," Jake said, his voice shaking. "Holt forced me to watch you." "I didn't want this." Nathan's heart sank, betrayal cutting deep. "Jake, you were my friend," he said, his voice raw. Blaze growled, but didn't attack, as if sensing Jake's conflict. Lila aimed her gun, her voice cold. "Drop it, Riley. Now!" Jake lowered his weapon, tears in his eyes. "I'm done with Holt. Let me help." But the roar of motorcycles closed in, Holt's men arriving, their headlights blinding. Nathan gripped Blaze's leash, his voice fierce. "Blaze, we're not done yet. Let's show 'em what a hero can do." Blaze barked, ready to fight. As the night erupted into chaos, the badge's secrets a ticking bomb that could bring down Ashwood's darkest powers. The fog clung to Ashwood streets like a shroud, the Oregon night alive with the wail of sirens and the roar of motorcycles. Nathan Brooks, Emma Larson, Lila Morgan, and Blaze had barely escaped the police station's explosion, their car weaving through back roads to shake Travis Kane's crew. Nathan, 42, sat in the passenger seat, his lean frame tense, his sightless eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, the K9 badge burning in his pocket. Blaze, his 4-year-old German shepherd, panted in the back, his black and tan coat scarred, his ears perked, a growl rumbling as he sensed pursuit. The badge had unlocked Operation Nightshade, encrypted files exposing a drug cartel and its dirty cop allies, led by Captain Derek Holt, a traitor who'd once worked with Blaze. Jake Riley's betrayal, his coerced role as Holt's informant, had cut deep, but his offer to help hung in the air, a fragile thread of redemption. Lila, her cropped brown hair damp with sweat, gripped the wheel, her gray eyes scanning the mirrors. "Holt's men are close," she said, her voice tight. "That explosion wasn't random. They're cleaning house, and Blaze is their biggest loose end." Nathan's jaw clenched, his hand resting on Blaze's head, the dog's warmth grounding him. "They're not getting him," he said, his voice low, fierce. "Those files, what's in them that's worth killing for?" Emma, in the back with Blaze, clutched Lila's laptop, her blonde hair falling loose, her voice shaking. "Names, Nathan. Cops, dealers, politicians, all tied to Marcus Vega's cartel. Holt's been running it since Vega went down, and Blaze's nose put them all at risk." Blaze whined, nudging Nathan's arm, his eyes locked on the rear window where headlights flared. Motorcycles, gaining fast. Nathan's heart pounded, his blindness sharpening every sound. the engine's growl, Blaze's steady growl. "Lila, we need a plan," he said, his voice urgent. "Where are we going?" "There's an old evidence warehouse on the edge of town," Lila said, swerving onto a dirt road. "Blaze worked there during the Nightshade bust. If there's more evidence, it's our shot to nail Holt." The car jolted over ruts, the motorcycles closing in, their headlights blinding. Emma's voice cracked, her hand on Blaze's collar. "Nathan, what if Jake's setting us up? He was working for Holt. How do we trust him?" Nathan's chest tightened, Jake's tearful confession replaying, "Holt forced me." "We don't," he said, his voice grim. "But Blaze trusts him, and that's enough for now." The warehouse loomed ahead, a hulking relic of Ashwood's industrial past, its windows boarded, its walls streaked with rust. Lila skidded to a stop, and they piled out, Blaze leading Nathan through the gravel, his nose low, sniffing for danger. Lila kicked open a side door, her gun raised, the laptop under her arm. "Stay close," she said, her voice sharp. "This place is a maze." Inside, the air was thick with dust and the faint smell of chemicals, shelves towering with sealed evidence boxes. Blaze's growl echoed, his hackles rising as he tugged Nathan toward a locked vault, its keypad blinking red. "Blaze, what's in there?" Nathan asked, his voice low, trusting the dog's instincts. Lila plugged the badge into the keypad, the vault clicking open to reveal a cache of hard drives, files, and a single dusty photo. Blaze, in his K9 harness, standing over a crate of seized drugs, with Holt in the background, his face smug. Nathan couldn't see it, but Emma's gasp told him enough. "Nathan, it's Holt," she said, her voice trembling. "He was there when Blaze made the bust. He knew everything." Blaze's bark cut through the stale air, sharp and urgent, his nose pointing to the warehouse's main door. Footsteps echoed, heavy, deliberate, multiple sets. Lila drew her gun, her voice low. "They found us. Get behind the shelves." Nathan pulled Emma down, Blaze positioning himself in front, his growl a wall of defiance. The door burst open and Travis stormed in, flanked by 3 armed men, their flashlights slicing through the dark. "End of the line, blind man," Travis sneered, his gun aimed at Nathan. "You and that mutt are done." Nathan's voice was steel, his hand firm on Blaze's leash. "You're the one who's done, Travis. Holt's going down, and you're just his errand boy." Travis laughed, but his eyes flicked nervously to Blaze, whose snarl was a promise of retribution. "Big talk for a guy who can't see," he said, stepping closer, his men fanning out. "Hand over the badge, or we burn this place down with you in it." Blaze lunged, his K9 training a blur, tackling one gunman, his jaws clamping onto the man's wrist. The gunman screamed, his rifle clattering as Lila fired, dropping another. Nathan released Blaze's leash, his voice a command. "Blaze, take!" The dog surged, pinning a second man, his barks echoing like thunder. Emma grabbed a fire extinguisher, spraying foam to blind Travis, her voice fierce. "Stay away from my brother." Nathan dove for cover, his hands finding a metal pipe, swinging it at the sound of footsteps, connecting with a grunt. "Blaze, hold!" he shouted, the dog's growls guiding him through the chaos. But the twist came as a new voice cut through the fray. Jake Riley stepping from the shadows, his gun trained on Travis. "Drop it, Kane," Jake said, his voice shaking but resolute. "I'm done with Holt. Nathan, I'm with you." Nathan's heart skipped, betrayal and hope colliding. "Jake, you better mean that," he said, his voice raw. Blaze trusts you. Don't make him wrong. Travis's face twisted, his gun swinging toward Jake. You traitor, he roared. But Blaze was faster, leaping, his jaws knocking Travis down, the gun skittering across the floor. Lila cuffed the gunman, her voice grim. Jake, you're on thin ice. Help us, or you're next. The laptop pinged, a file downloading, CCTV footage from the Nightshade bust, showing Holt planting evidence to frame an innocent cop, protecting Vega's network. Emma's voice trembled as she read the screen. Nathan, Holt didn't just run the cartel. He framed Blaze's old handler to cover it up. Nathan's blood ran cold, the revelation a gut punch. That's why they want Blaze dead, he said, his voice breaking. He's the only witness left. Blaze's growl turned sharp, his nose pointing to the warehouse's roof, where a red laser dot danced, a sniper, Holt's final play. Get down, Lila shouted, shoving Nathan and Emma behind a crate as a bullet cracked through a window, grazing Jake's arm. Jake cried out, dropping his gun, but Blaze leaped, his body shielding Nathan, his barks a defiant challenge. Blaze, stay, Nathan yelled, his heart tearing as he crawled to Jake, pressing a cloth to his wound. Jake, you with us? He asked, his voice thick with urgency. Jake nodded, pain etching his face. I owe you, Nathan, for Blaze. Let's end this. Lila fired at the roof, her voice fierce. We've got the files. FBI's on the way. Hold them off. But the motorcycle's roar grew louder, Holt's men closing in, and Nathan knew the warehouse was a trap. Blaze pressed against him, his growl a vow, as Nathan whispered, We're not done, boy. Not by a long shot. The sniper's laser flickered, the warehouse a tinderbox, and Holt's shadow loomed larger than ever, ready to bury them all. The Ashwood warehouse was a maze of shadows and steel, its air thick with dust and the acrid sting of gunpowder. Nathan Brooks, Emma Larson, Lila Morgan, and Jake Riley crouched behind a stack of evidence crates, their breaths shallow as the sniper's laser danced across the walls. Nathan, 42, his lean frame taut, gripped Blaze's leash, his sightless eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, his heart pounding with the weight of their discovery. Blaze, his 4-year-old German shepherd, stood rigid, his black and tan coat scarred, his growl a low rumble, sensing the danger closing in. The Operation Nightshade files, proof of Captain Derek Holt's cartel ties and his framing of Blaze's old handler, were on Lila's laptop, a ticking bomb that could bring down Ashwood's corrupt elite. But Travis Kane's men, led by Holt, were circling, and Jake's shaky alliance hung by a thread. Lila, her cropped brown hair matted with sweat, checked her gun, her gray eyes fierce. FBI's 10 minutes out, she whispered, her voice tight. We hold this position. Keep the files safe. Nathan's jaw clenched, his hand steady on Blaze's collar. 10 minutes is a lifetime, Lila. Holt's not waiting. He wants Blaze dead, and us with him. Emma, her blonde hair tangled, clutched the laptop, her voice trembling but resolute. Nathan, we can't let Holt win. These files, they're why he framed Blaze's handler. He's been running this town for years. Blaze's growl deepened, his nose twitching, pointing to the warehouse's skylight where the sniper's laser flickered. Nathan's pulse raced, his blindness amplifying every sound, the creak of rafters, the distant roar of motorcycles. Blaze, stay, he said, his voice low, trusting the dog's instincts to guide them. Jake, his arm bloodied from the sniper's graze, winced, his brown eyes filled with guilt. Nathan, I swear, "I didn't know Holt was this deep," he said, his voice shaking. "He forced me to watch you, threaten my family. I'm trying to make this right." Nathan's chest tightened, Jake's betrayal still raw. But Blaze's calm beside him spoke volumes. "You want to make it right, Jake?" Nathan said, his voice raw, fierce. "Prove it. Help us get out of here." Lila nodded, her gun raised. "He's with us, Nathan. For now. But we need to move. The sniper's pinning us, and Holt's men are closing in." Blaze's bark cut through the tension, sharp and urgent, his nose pointing to a side door. Nathan trusted the dog's lead, guiding Emma and Jake as Lila covered their rear. They slipped through the warehouse, Blaze navigating the cluttered aisles, his K9 training a beacon in the dark. But as they reached a loading dock, the door exploded inward, and 3 of Holt's men stormed in, their rifles raised. "Down!" Lila shouted, firing, dropping one man as Nathan pulled Emma behind a crate. Blaze lunged, his jaws clamping onto a second gunman's leg, dragging him down with a snarl. The third aimed at Blaze, but Jake tackled him, wrestling the rifle free, his voice desperate. "I'm not one of them, Nathan. I swear." Nathan's heart pounded, his hand on Blaze's leash, his voice a command. "Blaze, hold!" The dog pinned the gunman, growling as Lila cuffed him. But the sniper's laser returned, slicing through the dock, a bullet grazing Lila's shoulder. She grunted, blood seeping, but kept her gun steady. "Keep moving," she barked, shoving the laptop at Emma. They sprinted for a back exit, Blaze leading, his nose sniffing a path through the smoke. Nathan's mind raced, the files, Holt's betrayal, Jake's shaky loyalty. "Lila, what's in those files that Holt's so scared of?" he asked, his voice urgent. Lila's voice was grim, her shoulder bleeding. "Proof he framed Blaze's handler, Mike Torres, for Vega's crimes." Torres took the fall, died in prison. Holt's been running the cartel ever since, and Blaze's the last link to the truth. Blaze's growl turned sharp, his body tensing as they reached the exit, only to find it barred, locked from the outside. Nathan's stomach dropped, the trap closing. "They knew we'd come here," he said, his voice low, furious. "Holt planned this." Emma's voice cracked, her hands shaking on the laptop. "Nathan, what do we do?" "We're sitting ducks." Before Nathan could answer, a new sound chilled him, a faint beep from Blaze's collar, a tracker they hadn't found, its red light blinking. Jake's face paled, his voice breaking. "That's not mine," he said, backing away. Holt must have planted it at the cafe. The twist hit Nathan like a shock. Jake wasn't the mole. Someone else had been tracking them, someone inside the station, someone Holt trusted. "Lila," Nathan said, his voice trembling with rage. "Who else knew we were coming here?" Lila's eyes widened, her voice grim. "Only one person, Sergeant Carla Webb, my partner. She was at the station when we arrived." Nathan's blood ran cold. Webb, a trusted cop, had betrayed them, feeding Holt their every move. Blaze's bark erupted, his nose pointing to the roof, where a shadow moved, the sniper repositioning. "Blaze, find!" Nathan commanded, releasing the leash. The dog surged, climbing a rusted ladder to the rafters, his training a blur of power, his barks echoing as he tackled the sniper, sending the rifle crashing to the floor below. Lila fired at the skylight, shattering it, her voice fierce despite the pain. "Move now! We've got a window!" They burst through the exit, Blaze leaping from the roof to land beside Nathan, his growl a vow of protection. But the motorcycle's roar was deafening now. Holt's men circling, their headlights blinding. Emma clutched the laptop, her voice desperate. "Nathan, we can't outrun them. The files, what do we do?" Nathan's resolve hardened, his hand on Blaze's trembling fur. "We get to the FBI, Em. These files are our weapon. Blaze, lead." The dog took off, his nose guiding them through an alley, his instincts navigating the maze as bullets cracked behind them. Jake stumbled, his wound slowing him, but he pushed forward, his voice raw. "Nathan, I'm sorry I dragged you into this. Blaze, he's the real deal. You deserve better than me." Nathan's voice softened, his trust in Blaze anchoring him. "You're here now, Jake. That's what counts. Stay with us." Blaze's bark turned urgent, his nose pointing to a drainage tunnel ahead, a narrow escape. They dove inside, the motorcycle's roar fading, but Webb's betrayal and Holt's reach loomed larger than ever. Nathan whispered to Blaze, his voice thick with pride, "You're my hero, boy. Let's finish this." The tunnel's darkness swallowed them, the files their only hope. But Holt's shadow was relentless, and the truth about Webb promised a fight that would test every ounce of their courage. The Ashwood night was a battlefield, the Oregon air thick with the stench of oil and smoke, as Nathan Brooks, Emma Larson, Lila Morgan, and Jake Riley emerged from the drainage tunnel, their lungs burning. Nathan, 42, his lean frame battered, clutched the canine badge that had unleashed a storm, his sightless eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. Blaze, his 4-year-old German shepherd, led the way, his black and tan coat scarred, his growl a steady pulse of defiance. The Operation Nightshade files on Lila's laptop, proof of Captain Derek Holt's cartel empire and his framing of Blaze's handler, were their weapon. But Holt's men, led by Travis Kane, were closing in, and Sergeant Carla Webb's betrayal had turned the Ashwood PD into a trap. Jake's shaky redemption, his arm bloodied from a sniper's bullet, hung in the balance, his loyalty to Nathan and Blaze their only hope. Lila, her shoulder bleeding through her jacket, checked her gun, her gray eyes fierce. "FBI's rendezvous is at the old steel mill," she said, her voice hoarse. 5 miles. "We get these files to them. Holt's done." Nathan's jaw clenched, his hand firm on Blaze's leash. 5 miles with Holt's crew on our tail? Lila, we need a miracle. Emma, her blonde hair matted, clutched the laptop, her voice trembling but resolute. "Blaze is our miracle, Nathan. He's kept us alive this long." Blaze's ears twitched, his nose sniffing the alley's shadows, his growl deepening as the roar of motorcycles echoed closer. Nathan's heart pounded, his blindness sharpening every sound, the engine's snarl, the crunch of gravel under boots. "Blaze, find a way," he whispered, trusting the dog's instincts. They sprinted through Ashwood's back streets, Blaze guiding Nathan with unerring precision, his K9 training cutting through the chaos. Lila led, her gun raised while Jake limped behind, his face pale but determined. The steel mill loomed ahead, its rusted smokestacks clawing the sky, a relic of Ashwood's industrial past. But as they neared the entrance, headlights flared. 4 motorcycles, Travis at the lead, blocking their path. "End of the road, blind man!" Travis shouted, his gun glinting, his shaved head gleaming under the streetlights. "That badge, the files, hand 'em over, or your dog's dead." Nathan stood tall, his voice steel, his hand on Blaze's trembling fur. "You're out of your league, Travis. Blaze isn't just a dog. He's a K9 hero, and you're about to learn what that means." Travis laughed, but his eyes flicked nervously to Blaze, whose snarl was a promise of retribution. Big words for a guy who can't see. Holt's orders, no witnesses. He raised his gun, his men fanning out, their weapons trained on the group. Lila stepped forward, her gun steady despite her wound. "You're done, Kane. FBI's got the files streaming live. Holt's empire's crashing and you're going down with it." Emma's voice rang out, fierce and desperate. "Blaze saved us, Travis. You think you can take him? You're nothing compared to him." Blaze's bark was a thunderclap, his body coiling, ready to strike. Nathan released the leash, his voice a command. "Blaze, take!" The German shepherd surged, his training a blur of power, tackling Travis, his jaws knocking the gun free. Travis screamed, hitting the ground as Blaze pinned him, his growl deafening. Lila fired, dropping one gunman, while Jake tackled another, his wounded arm slowing him but his resolve unbroken. "Jake, hold them!" Nathan shouted, guiding Emma toward the mill's entrance, Blaze's barks guiding him through the chaos. But a new sound chilled him, boots on the roof, a sniper's scope glinting. "Lila, above us!" Nathan yelled, his voice raw. Lila spun, firing at the sniper, but a bullet grazed her leg, sending her to her knees. Emma screamed, dropping the laptop, its screen cracking but still glowing with the files. Nathan dove for it, his hands fumbling, his voice desperate. "Em, stay with me. We're not losing this." Blaze's growl turned sharp, his body leaping to shield Nathan as another gunman charged, rifle raised. The dog's jaws clamped onto the man's arm, dragging him down, his barks a relentless warning. But Travis, bloodied and raging, staggered to his feet, pulling a knife. "You're dead, mutt," he roared, lunging at Blaze. Nathan's heart stopped, his voice a plea. "Blaze, watch out!" He swung the pipe he'd grabbed from the warehouse, connecting with Travis's shoulder, sending the knife skittering. Blaze spun, pinning Travis again, his teeth bared, a guardian unyielding. The twist came as a new figure emerged from the mill's shadows. Captain Derek Holt, his uniform crisp, his face cold, a pistol in hand. "Enough!" Holt barked, his voice a whip. "Carter, you're a dead man walking. That dog's the only reason you're still breathing." Nathan's blood ran cold, Holt's presence a gut punch. "You framed Mike Torres," he said, his voice trembling with rage. "Blaze's handler, your own man. You ran Vega's cartel, and now you're scared because Blaze can prove it." Holt's laugh was ice, his gun aimed at Nathan. Torres was collateral. Blaze was supposed to die with him, but that damn dog's too stubborn. "Hand over the files, or I end this now." Emma stepped forward, her voice fierce despite her fear. "It's over, Holt. The world's watching. Those files are live. You can't hide anymore." Lila, struggling to stand, aimed her gun, her voice a growl. "Drop it, Derek. You're done." Blaze's bark was a clarion call, his body shielding Nathan, his eyes locked on Holt. Jake, blood dripping from his arm, grabbed a fallen rifle, his voice raw. "Nathan, I owe you this. Let me finish it." But Holt's gun swung toward Jake, his voice venomous. "You're a traitor, Riley. You're all dead." Before he could fire, Blaze leaped, his jaws clamping onto Holt's wrist, dragging him down with a snarl. Holt screamed, his gun firing wild, the bullet shattering a crate. Nathan dove for the laptop, his hands finding it, his voice a command. "Blaze, hold!" Lila fired, wounding Holt's leg, as FBI choppers roared overhead, their spotlights flooding the mill. Agents stormed in, cuffing Holt, Travis, and the remaining gunmen. Nathan knelt beside Blaze, checking for wounds, his voice thick with relief. "You did it, boy. You saved us all. Emma hugged Nathan, tears streaming.
Nathan, you and Blaze, you're unstoppable.
Jake collapsed, his face pale, his voice weak. I'm sorry, Nathan. I didn't deserve your trust. But Blaze, he's the real hero. Nathan's hand rested on Blaze's head, his voice soft but firm. You fought for us, Jake. That's enough. Lila, bloodied but standing, handed the laptop to an FBI agent, her voice grim. Holt's down, but someone's still out there. Those files mention a silent partner. We're not done. Nathan's heart sank, the twist a chilling echo. Holt wasn't the mastermind, just a cog in a larger machine. Blaze growled, sensing the unseen threat, as Nathan whispered, We'll find them, boy. Together. The mill's lights flickered, the FBI securing the scene, but the silent partner's shadow loomed, promising a fight that would test Blaze's heroism to its limits. The Ashwood morning bloomed with a fragile calm, the Oregon sun casting golden rays over the newly opened Brooks Canine Center, a sanctuary for guide dogs and their handlers. Nathan Brooks stood in the training yard, his lean frame relaxed for the first time in weeks, his sightless eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, a faint smile on his lips. Blaze, his 4-year-old German shepherd, bounded through the grass, chasing a ball with a joy that belied his scarred black and tan coat, his canine instincts softened by peace. The Operation Nightshade. Files had brought down Captain Derek Holt, exposing his cartel empire and his framing of Blaze's handler Mike Torres. Travis Kane and his crew were in custody, and Ashwood was healing, but Holt's chilling hint, a silent partner still at large, lingered like a storm cloud. Emma Larson, Nathan's sister, leaned against a fence, her blonde hair catching the breeze, her green eyes bright with pride. She'd helped fund the center, a tribute to Nathan and Blaze's courage. Lila Morgan, the detective who'd fought beside them, sat on a bench, her arm in a sling, her gray eyes scanning a tablet with updates on Holt's case. Jake Riley, the barista who'd redeemed his betrayal, worked nearby training a young guide dog, his face marked by a quiet resolve. Nathan tossed the ball, Blaze leaping to catch it, his bark echoing across the yard. "You're a champ, boy," Nathan called, his voice warm, a stark contrast to the fear that had gripped them at the steel mill. The center was their victory, a place where the blind and their dogs could find strength, purpose, a second chance. Emma walked over, her smile soft but tinged with worry. "Nathan, this place, it's incredible. You and Blaze did this. But, are you okay? After everything?" Nathan's hand brushed Blaze's fur, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm getting there, Em. Blaze brought me back from the edge. He's not just my eyes, he's my heart." Blaze dropped the ball at Nathan's feet, nudging his hand, his eyes bright with trust. Nathan knelt, cupping the dog's face, his heart full. "You never gave up on me, boy. Not once. I owe you everything." Lila looked up, her voice gruff but warm. "He's a damn hero, Nathan, always was. Those files. They're shaking up the whole state. Holt's singing, naming names, but this silent partner. We've got no leads." Nathan's smile faded, the weight of Holt's words pressing on him. "Someone's still out there, Lila. Blaze feels it. He's been jumpy all morning." Blaze's ears twitched, his body tensing, a low growl rumbling as he stared at the center's gate. Nathan's pulse quickened, his blindness sharpening the sound, the faint hum of an engine, too deliberate to be a passerby. "Blaze, what's got you?" he asked, standing, his hand firm on the leash. Emma frowned, following Blaze's gaze. Nathan, there's a black car parked across the street. Tinted windows just sitting there. Lila stood, her hand on her holster, her voice low. Stay here, I'll check it out. But before she could move, Jake rushed over, his face pale, holding a small, unmarked envelope. Nathan, this was left at the gate, he said, his voice shaking. It's addressed to you. Nathan's stomach twisted, the air growing heavy. Emma opened the envelope, her voice trembling as she read, You won the battle, but the war isn't over. Keep Blaze close. Inside was a single photo, Nathan and Blaze at the mill, taken from a sniper's scope, time-stamped the night of the bust. Nathan's blood ran cold, the twist a chilling shock. They're still watching, he whispered, his hand tightening on Blaze's leash. Blaze barked, his hackles raised, his nose pointing to the car, which revved and sped off, tires screeching. Lila's eyes blazed, her voice grim. That's no coincidence. The silent partner. They're taunting us, Nathan. This photo means they were there, at the mill. Emma clutched Nathan's arm, her voice breaking. Nathan, what do they want? Holt's gone. The files are public. Why keep coming after you and Blaze? Nathan's resolve hardened, his hand steady on Blaze. Because Blaze is the key, Em. He's the witness they couldn't silence. And I'm not letting them touch him. Jake's face was etched with guilt, his voice raw. Nathan, this is my fault. I brought Holt's people into your life. If I'd come clean sooner. Nathan cut him off, his voice firm but kind. You fought for us, Jake. You saved us at the mill. Blaze trusts you, and that's enough for me. Blaze's growl turned sharp, his body coiling as a new sound pierced the calm. A drone, its red light blinking above the yard. Lila drew her gun, her voice fierce. They're here. Nathan, get Blaze inside. But Blaze surged forward, his canine instincts kicking in, leaping to bat the drone from the sky, its wreckage crashing into the grass. Nathan ran to him, his hands checking for injuries, his voice thick with relief. Good boy, Blaze. You're always one step ahead. Emma scooped up the drone's remains, her hands shaking as she found a tiny camera still recording. Nathan, they're streaming us. Live, she said, her voice trembling. Someone's watching right now. Lila smashed the camera, her voice a growl. This isn't just a threat, it's a message. The silent partners showing they can reach us anywhere. Nathan stood, Blaze pressing against his leg, his voice steady but laced with fury. Let them try. Blaze and I have faced worse. We're not backing down. Emma's eyes glistened, her voice fierce. You're not alone, Nathan. We're all in this. Me, Lila, Jake. Blaze isn't just your hero. He's ours. Jake nodded, his resolve firm despite his pain. I'm done running, Nathan. Whatever's coming, I'm with you. Lila's tablet pinged, a new alert. A leaked email from an anonymous source mentioning a Phase 2 tied to Nightshade, with coordinates to a site outside Ashwood. This is it, Lila said, her voice grim. The silent partner's next move. We need to end this. Blaze barked, his stance proud, as if vowing to lead the charge. Nathan knelt, his hand on the dog's head, his heart swelling with gratitude. You're my rock boy. We've got one more fight in us, don't we? But as they prepared to move, a faint hum echoed from the woods. A second drone, its light flickering, watching. Nathan stood, his voice ringing out to the audience beyond the frame, raw and compelling. Blaze and I were up against the odds, betrayal, danger, darkness. But loyalty, his and ours, kept us standing. Who's been your Blaze, your hero when the world turned against you? Share your story with us. Join this fight because we're not done yet. Blaze's bark echoed, a call to action that stirred the soul. As the drone's hum grew louder, a chilling reminder that the silent partner was closing in, their shadow threatening to shatter Ashwood's fragile peace. The Ashwood dusk painted the Oregon sky in hues of amber and violet, a fleeting calm over the Brooks K-9 Center's training yard. Nathan Brooks stood at the center, his lean frame steady, his sightless eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, a quiet strength in his posture. Blaze, his 4-year-old German shepherd, played nearby, his black and tan coat gleaming, his scars a testament to their battles. The Operation Nightshade files had toppled Captain Derek Holt, exposing his cartel empire and his betrayal of Blaze's handler, Mike Torres. Travis Kane and his crew were behind bars, and Ashwood was rebuilding, but the silent partner's shadow, revealed by the drone's chilling message and coordinates to a hidden site, loomed over their victory. Emma Larson, Lila Morgan, and Jake Riley stood by Nathan, their bond forged in fire, ready for the final fight. Nathan tossed a ball, Blaze leaping with a joyous bark, his energy a beacon of hope. "You're my hero, boy," Nathan said, his voice warm, a stark contrast to the terror of the steel mill. The K-9 Center, named for Blaze's courage, was thriving, a haven for the blind and their guide dogs, a testament to loyalty and resilience. Emma, her blonde hair loose, smiled, her green eyes soft with pride. "Nathan, this place, it's changing lives. You and Blaze did that." Nathan's hand brushed Blaze's fur, his voice thick. "We didn't do it alone, Em. You, Lila, Jake. Your family now. Blaze showed me what's worth fighting for." Lila, her arm still in a sling, checked her tablet, her gray eyes sharp. "Holt's trial is blowing up the news." "But that email, Phase 2, the coordinates, it's a lead we can't ignore. The silent partner's out there, Nathan." Jake, training a pup nearby, looked up, his face marked by redemption. "I'm in, Nathan. For Blaze. For what we built." Blaze's ears twitched, his body tensing, a low growl rumbling as he stared at the yard's edge. Nathan's pulse quickened, his blindness amplifying the sound. A faint hum, like the drone from before. "Blaze, what's out there?" he asked, his hand firm on the leash. Emma followed Blaze's gaze, her voice tight. "Nathan, there's a car. Black tinted windows, just like last time." Lila drew her gun, her voice grim. "They're here. Get inside, now." But before they could move, Blaze barked, sharp and urgent, sprinting toward a package left at the gate, its blinking light eerily familiar. Nathan ran after him, his heart pounding, his voice a command. "Blaze, stay." The dog sniffed the package, his growl deepening as Emma grabbed it, her hands shaking. Inside was a USB drive and a note. "Phase 2 begins. You can't stop it." She plugged the drive into Lila's tablet, her voice trembling. "Nathan, it's a video, live feed, from a drone right now." The screen showed the K-9 Center, zoomed in on Nathan and Blaze, a red laser dot dancing on the dog's flank. Nathan's blood ran cold, the twist a gut punch. The silent partner wasn't just watching, they were hunting, and Blaze was the target. "Lila, where's that drone?" he demanded, his voice raw. Lila scanned the sky, her gun raised.
There, above the trees.
She fired, the drone crashing in a shower of sparks. But a new sound chilled them. Boots, crunching in the woods. Multiple sets, closing in. Emma clutched Nathan's arm, her voice breaking.
Nathan, they're coming for Blaze. After everything, they won't stop.
Nathan's resolve hardened, his hand on Blaze's trembling fur.
They'll have to go through me first, Emmy.
Blaze isn't just a dog. He's a hero, and we're not backing down. Jake grabbed a training stick, his voice fierce. I'm with you, Nathan. For Blaze, for Mike Torres. Let's end this. Lila's tablet pinged, a decrypted file from the USB, revealing the silent partner, Senator Carl Reynolds, a name tied to Vega's cartel, funding Holt's empire from the shadows. Nathan's heart sank. Reynolds, a revered politician, was untouchable, his reach explaining the drones, the attacks. Reynolds, Nathan whispered, his voice trembling with rage. He used Holt, used Ashwood, and now he wants Blaze gone. Blaze's bark was a clarion call, his body shielding Nathan as figures emerged from the woods. Masked gunmen, Reynolds' private security, their rifles glinting. Lila fired, dropping one, but the others advanced, their lasers locking on Blaze. Nathan released the leash, his voice a command. Blaze, take! The German Shepherd surged, his K9 training a blur, tackling a gunman, his jaws relentless. Emma swung a crate, knocking another down, her voice fierce. Stay away from my brother! Jake fought beside her, his resolve unbreakable, while Lila covered them, her shoulder bleeding but her aim steady. Nathan dove for the tablet, uploading the file to the FBI, his voice desperate. Lila, it's live. Reynolds is exposed. But a gunman grabbed him, the cold barrel against his neck, a voice snarling, You're done, blind man. Blaze's snarl was thunder, his body a missile, knocking the gunman off Nathan, his barks echoing as FBI choppers roared overhead, their spotlights flooding the yard. Agents stormed in, cuffing the gunman, but Reynolds' name burned in Nathan's mind, a shadow still free. Nathan knelt beside Blaze, checking for wounds, his voice thick with gratitude. You saved me again, boy. You're my hero. Emma hugged him, tears streaming. Nathan, you and Blaze, you're unstoppable. Lila secured the tablet, her voice grim. Reynolds is in the wind, but the FBI's hunting him. This isn't over. Jake's eyes glistened, his voice raw. I don't deserve this, Nathan, but Blaze, he gave me a chance to be better. Nathan's hand rested on Blaze's head, his voice steady, emotional. We all got a second chance, Jake. Because of him. He faced the audience, his words piercing. Blaze and I faced darkness, betrayal, fear, impossible odds. But loyalty kept us standing. Who's been your Blaze, your hero in the storm? Share your story, join our fight, because we're not done. A host stepped forward, her voice warm, urgent. Nathan and Blaze's story proves loyalty conquers all. Subscribe, like, and share your stories below. Support this channel. Keep their fight alive. As the screen faded, Blaze barked, his tail wagging, a beacon of hope. But in the center's office, a hidden phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Reynolds sends regards. See you soon. The fight was won, but the war was far from over, and Blaze's heroism would face its ultimate test.